Greetings, or rather bonjour, from France. I am in France at my in-laws who retired out here, and the Dordogne River is flowing in front of me. I'm hoping you've got all of these lovely Tweety bird sounds to drown out my whistling teeth on my phone. I'm bringing you to France with me on a beautiful sunny day. I'm out here for my birthday, and as I said, to visit my in-laws after finishing the third leg of the Alien Nation tour. So that is the penultimate leg done. I've been all over the place: Birmingham, Bristol, London, Norwich. Now I'm in France, apparently. The exhaustion hasn't even caught up with me yet because my heart is so full. I'm so grateful. We had the best time, and I don't know if I'll ever not be overwhelmed with the response in London. I honestly, makes me feel totes emotional just thinking about it. So thank you to all who made those shows so special. I still have glitter on me somewhere, and I cannot stop singing Unwritten by Natty B. And Natasha Bedingfield herself actually shared the video of us belting out her Hun banger Unwritten at London on her Instagram story. So yeah, the ultimate Hun anthem. I'll never stop finding that amusing, and so grateful to Natasha. I'm also incredibly grateful to everybody for your response and kind words about the continuation of the safari. I've hacked my own ADHD paralysis and self-sabotage to stop holding on to these wonderful interviews for season 3 by not calling it season 3 anymore. It's just a continuation of the safari. Onwards we plough. And so many of you got in touch to say how much you loved the interview with Lucy of Lucy and Yak last week. So thank you very, very much. And I hope you are taking full advantage of that incredible discount code in that episode. This week, I have got another amazing episode with another person I'm a huge fan of, Suzi Ruffell. What a ledge Suzi is. I'm so excited. Ali Mac Coaching took me to go and see Suzi perform live in Aberdeen. Well, it feels like a lifetime ago, a few months ago. And I reached out to her and was lucky enough to be able to have this conversation in which she shares her late ADHD discovery and thoughts and feelings, and it's just bloody wonderful. So thank you so much to Suzi. I hope you enjoy this chinwag with another ADHDF legend. And I will be back at the end to share some more ridiculousness and final thoughts. Enjoy. Hi, I'm Laura, and I am ADHD AF. Though blatantly obvious, the late discovery, diagnosis and treatment at 38 for severe combined type ADHD in 2022 not only improved, but genuinely saved my life, which I have since dedicated to fighting for change amidst the global ADHD crisis. As the acronym suggests, I swear like a sailor, and each episode will contain sensitive subject matter, so please always read the description before diving in, where you will also find a link to resources for support. These crucial conversations with experts by lived experience are shared to inform, validate, shame eradicate, and unite the ADHD community, with a fair few laughs along the way. I've been labelled too much all my life, but finally I celebrate my too muchness and use my justice sensitivity to let the world know that ADHD presents differently in each individual. Self-diagnosis is valid, and that ADHD is not a trend. ADHD is real. And I want all ADHDers of all genders to know you are not alone. The leopard is the symbol of Aberdeen, Scotland, where this podcast began. It also symbolises bravery, the reclaiming of power, and I'm a total Hun. So leopard print has become the uniform of the ADHD AF community, uniting to support each other and push for change, which together we can make happen. We are the leopard print army. Hear us roar. There she be. Right, let's dive in. Your name, please.
Suzi Ruffell.
Age, if you don't mind sharing.
No, I don't mind. 38.
Location.
Brighton.
Occupation.
Comedian and writer.
Ooh.
I guess.
Wonderful. Favourite film?
I mean, I think Titanic's a great film.
Of course.
I really love Titanic, even though people might not. People might think it's naff. I think it's a great movie. I also love the film E.T. and probably Ghost.
Oh, Ghost.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What a cast. Anyway, I'm going off piste already. Favorite animal?
Probably some sort of monkey or maybe a lemur.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Would you say you are, well, actually, I think I can answer this, but dopamine dresser or calming neutrals?
Oh, no, dopamine.
Them suits, my goodness. You are sharp.
Thanks.
I love it. Okay, childhood nickname.
Didn't really have one.
Okay, what city in the world are you most like?
Oh, I mean, I think if you'd asked me that like 3 or 4 years ago, I'd have been like London. I'm London through and through. Even though I'm not from London, I lived there for a long time. But now I find it a bit too tiring and I find it a bit too overwhelming. So I don't know, let's say where I am, Brighton. I like Brighton.
Yay, I love Brighton. I went to uni in Brighton.
Oh, yeah, it's great, isn't it?
It really is. It's a special place. Planning, love it or loathe it?
Oh, loathe it.
Me too. ADHD diagnosis status, bearing in mind that self-diagnosis is valid.
From myself and a therapist?
Wonderful. Fantastic. So is that early or late diagnosis?
Late, like recent.
Okay. And have you found that easy or traumatic?
Oh, easy.
Easy. Wonderful. Okay. So let's dive into the big ones. What led you to suspect that you have ADHD?
There's a lot of female stand-ups with ADHD, so it became a thing that lots of the female comics were talking about. And then I was like, oh, I should Google it. And then I read it. I read the sort of symptoms, the classic symptoms aloud to my wife. And she was like, that's you. Like, that's you through and through. So I guess I have like absolutely no shame around or anything. I was like, oh, maybe this is sort of a useful thing for me to know about myself. And
100%.
I tell you what it's done. It's stopped me from being... Can we swear on this podcast?
Oh, God, like a trooper. Go for it. Go for it.
Well, because quite often when I buck up or like lose keys or do something or not leave myself enough time, which is my biggest thing that I do, I'll like routinely like wander around the house when my child is not in earshot or is not in the house, going like, oh, bollocks, 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 bollocks. I'm such an idiot. Oh, I'm such a stupid cow. Oh, bollocks, bollocks, bollocks. And it's sort of stopped me from doing that because I go, well, it's okay. I
know why.
That's okay because that's how my brain works. And so I think if anything, it's given me a license to be a bit kinder to myself. I
absolutely love that. It's funny because I messaged you an hour ago to say, look forward to speaking to you in an hour. And I was like, I am so organized today. I have got an hour. And literally next thing you know, I had like 7 minutes. Like,
yeah, I did the same. I was like, oh my God.
So organised.
Everything's done. Then I was like, probably should have a coffee.
Just do this one little thing. That'll only take a minute.
I mean, like routinely, I give myself like too much time and then I'll like sit on my bed in a towel.
Yeah.
And like be like, oh my God, I've got those 4 friends that I haven't texted back. I need my undivided attention immediately. And then sort of my wife is sort of going, Suze, you are ready, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah, really ready with my like white hair.
But that only takes a second, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's why I've got short hair. It's really good for the ADHD.
Why do you think it was missed in you until later in life?
I mean, I got a dyslexic diagnosis when I was still at school.
Mm-hmm.
But I think everyone was just like, oh, she's hyper.
Yeah.
She's just a lot. And like, it's weird because I think certainly being a comic, people will assume, and I think with being someone that has ADHD as well, it's like, you kind of think that I might be like the life and soul of the party, but actually like in a big group, I'm not that good. Unless I'm really good friends with all of them and I know all of them well, then I can sort of chill a bit. But I find it like a bit overwhelming. And so I think that like I was constantly doing lots of different things at school and also I feel like, see, already I'm like sort of not finishing sentences and beginning.
No, go for it.
but I feel like it wasn't even something that was discussed. I was quite naughty at school. I think that masked a lot of things. I just found it really hard. So I played up and I was really chatty and I bunked off quite a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Found the whole experience kind of awful. I hated being there. And so,
I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's fine. It's not like I've got a career where I have to make strangers laugh in order to feel full. Don't worry. But yeah, I think that it was missed because no one was looking for it.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with that. I just want to go back really quickly to, you said that a lot of comics have realized that they have ADHD.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about the profession? Why do you think that's happened? Or what do you think that is?
Well, specifically, there seems to be a lot of female comics. There's probably male comics as well, but the conversations that I'm having are with a lot of female comics. I think it's something to do with no 2 days are ever the same.
Mm-hmm.
You're always on the go. You sort of maybe thrive in high pressure situations. It sort of works for someone that's quite manic as a person. Like it kind of works, even if you're someone on stage that's quite sort of low energy, still like the getting there, the doing it, the writing, the sort of weird, mad, misplaced confidence that encourages you to have a go at it.
A lack of risk perception.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I mean, there's loads of female comics now, obviously, but when I was starting out, there was far fewer. There was still, a good handful of us, but there were more men doing it. When you went to open mic nights, there would be far more men. And I think that, I can only really speak for myself and what I've sort of learned about neurodiversity, but I think there are certainly some women that I was friends with at that time that just found that whole environment too much. They'd be like, oh, it's too masculine, like it's a bit toxic.
Masculine
and I
energy.
Sort of compartmentalize it. Is that ADHD? I don't know.
Possibly. I mean, it presents differently in all of us.
There's just sort of like maybe something that's slightly neurodiverse in that, sort of the boldness of it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny because I do some live shows where I'm trying to get local communities together, signposts to support, but we also have a bit of a giggle. And it's really strange. All in the build up to it, I'm very, very stressed. There's so many things to plan, to sort out. And then just before I'm about to go on, I feel calm, this absolute sense of calm. And it's really strange. It's not like a confidence. I wonder if there's something in the adrenaline of it, that how it interacts with our brains, that I'm like, I'm all right. I could do this all day. This is easy. I'm all right.
And I would say that's exactly how I feel before stand-up. So like if I'm shooting something or like shooting a big TV show or doing like recording my stand-up shows or something like that, the build-up, even like weeks before, I'll think like, say I'm recording it on the Tuesday, the Wednesday before I'll be going, this time next week it will be done. And I'll almost make like, these like kind of little deals with myself where I'm like, I'll be feeling good this time next week and I'll be able to cope with it and But then I think that the lead up to it, I'll feel like quite overwhelmed. And then, similarly, the moment when I'm standing side stage, I feel completely peaceful.
It's so strange because that's what it is, peace. And it's so strange because when I saw you in Aberdeen, it was phenomenal, by the way. One of the things that I saw in your show that I absolutely loved and resonated so hard with was the mindfulness bit.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's quite funny because it's that presence of mind and being present, but actually it's more the high pressure situation that makes you present in the here and now, that piece before going on stage.
Yeah, if I'm told to sort of relax, it's impossible.
Yeah.
But yeah, like weirdly, I can be quite calm if everything around me is totally chaotic, which is strange.
I relate so hard. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But the mindfulness thing is probably one of the most astute kind of, if you could encapsulate ADHD, it is that bit. I absolutely loved it. And I have to tell you as well, I've spent the last few days in my head on a loop. I've been singing to myself, Suzi, Ruffell is neurodiverse.
That was a very silly TikTok video that my friend and I made. That's one of my friends, Will, who comes on tour with me. I have a couple of different friends that open with me on the road, and we would sing that because I'd be like, oh, I've still got the key to the hotel that we were in 2 days ago. Or like, oh, Will, I can't find my worry doll, which isn't something I carry around. It was like a prop for the show. And whenever we would do that, we would both go, Suzi, Ruff is neurodiverse. And it became like this running thing. And then leading up to Christmas, I was like, should we like film this because it's really silly?
I love it so much. Honestly, it will be on a loop in my head forevermore. So you've said what has changed for you is that you feel you can be more self-compassionate and not swear at yourself. Yeah, I would like some of that, please, if you could send it to me through the screen. Is there anything else you think has changed for you?
No, I just think I am kind of at home with being it just sort of adds up and you sort of go, oh, that's kind of helpful.
It's the answer, right? It's literally
I don't feel like it's not changed anything that's made me judge myself in any way. I just sort of go, oh, right, okay, yeah, that's the thing. And like, I kind of always knew about myself. It now just has a name. Same as when I was, same as like being dyslexic. Like for a while, I was like quite embarrassed about it. And then certainly like, I trained as an actor first, but I didn't get any work. So I had a go at comedy, and then I've been having a go at comedy for about 15 years now. But that was a thing of like, oh God, like other people's scripts. And I would be great if I had them in advance, because I can learn script quite easily. My brain is quite good at remembering things. But if I was like in an audition and they were just like, oh, could you do this scene? I'd be like, oh, like this is really stressful. And then after a while, I'd just be like, you're going to have to give me 10 minutes because I've got dyslexia. And then as soon as I started saying it more and more, the like shame decreased. And now I couldn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I feel the same about ADHD. I'm like, like honestly, I don't.
As somebody in the public eye who is speaking out about ADHD, thank you very much. How do you feel when you see any of the negative press?
Oh, everyone's got it now.
Yeah, jumping on a bandwagon, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really. I mean,
you're just like, fuck them, it's nonsense.
Well, yeah, kind of. And I'm also like, yeah, loads of people do have it. Like it's really common.
Yes.
And if people become more understanding of it, there will be people in your workforce, there will be people in your family. You know, when people go, oh, it's this newfangled thing, and you go, no way. Like my nan was like 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Always like, she was sort of quite bombastic in how she dressed. She was really, my nanny Ruffell, my dad's mum, like, yeah, she was always 100 miles an hour. There was like 14 grandkids would all go there at the same time. It was chaotic, and she was totally at peace in the chaos. And I'm sure it comes from my dad's side of the family. Like my cousins, also like the thing that I've read about some people with ADHD, which is certainly me, like the clumsiness. My God, me and my cousins are so fucking clumsy. Like
honestly,
one of us will break something. Don't invite us to your house. We've all got long limbs. We can't quite control them. So frequently, my mom used to pick me up from a play date when I was a kid. I'd be like, I broke a thing. I'm so broke. And I'm sure that comes from my dad's side of the family. We're all like, yeah, we're all 100 miles an hour.
I love it. I love the long limbs. Like, I just thought of myself like gangly arms, just
it's like Mr. Tickle's family have got together. Like, and there's loads of us. How many first cousins have I got? I think I've got like 16.
Oh wow.
On that side, 14. And then with everyone's kids, when everyone's brought their kids in on, there's like 25 cousins.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like kind of wild. And we're all the same. Everyone's like doing 100 things at once. No one like, someone will go to get you a drink and they'll come back 2 hours later and be like, was I meant to get something for you? Like and everyone's like it.
Yeah.
You know, people start going like, oh, it wasn't like this 100 years ago. And you go, oh no, it was. Everyone was.
It absolutely was.
I read a really interesting thing the other day about autism, which I don't have. But people are saying like, oh, now everyone's got autism. And someone like wrote up a thing saying like, no, it's always been like, I had this aunt and you weren't allowed to touch these things in her house. And she had very specific rules about how she lived her life. And everyone was just like, well, I guess that's how she is. And it's like, no, she probably, I'm not going to diagnose someone from the past, but this person that had autism who believed their great aunt also did, you go, yeah, that does add up.
Obviously. Yeah, of course.
Of course. For a long time, we didn't have the language. And now I think people that get angry about it are people that are very worried about upsetting the status quo. And it's people that aren't neurodiverse that kind of like having the control. And as soon as you go like, oh, someone that's like dyslexic or someone that has autism or someone that has ADHD or any of these sort of neurodiverse things, I think there's a fear that like people that have everything in control at the moment don't like the idea of these unusual people that think in unusual ways that could actually be sort of hugely beneficial to the world. I don't think that,
I think you raised
at the top, like the idea of these unusual, creative, brains working in, different ways coming in and sort of upsetting it all.
I think you're so right, because there's this idea of, well, this is how we do things because this is the way that they've always been done.
Yeah.
And with neurodiversity and the fact that we can ask for accommodations or be respected to do things in a different way, in our own way, in a way that helps us to thrive, it's like, well, no, but that's not how we do things. It's frightening because it means that, the order, how things are, or that they've conformed to something when you don't have to, perhaps.
Yeah. 100%. and that there's power in people keeping people in boxes
Mm-hmm.
or creating an environment where only certain people can thrive. If you're kicking down those doors and you're making it more, I guess if you're making it fairer, if you're making it democratized, then, that upsets people that are used to being in charge.
Oh, I love that, Susie. Thank you. My goodness, nobody said that before, but yes, I 100% agree. No, you're not wrong. I 100% agree with you. 100%. Greetings from Planet ADHD AF, the online peer support community. If you're finding this podcast helpful and you are in a position to do so, I invite you to join us and become a member. For the cost of around just 2 takeaway coffees per month, membership gives you access to over 50 quid's worth of monthly support, including access to the private Discord server to connect with literally like-minded legends to lean on and learn from 24/7. Also, daily body doubling in all different time zones, Zoom chats supported by ADHD coaches, blogs, vlogs, accountability squads, self-care club, a monthly Zoom quiz, and more. Peer support is invaluable when coming to terms with a later in life diagnosis. Self-diagnosis is valid. I spent my life feeling like an alien, only to discover there's a whole planet of us. So you are not alone. Jump aboard the spaceship and join us on Planet ADHD AF. So, self-diagnosis is valid, as we've said, and it has to be in a system that is so broken. One of the main points, if not the main point of this podcast, is to, be part of the conversation to push for change, right? So we know that the system is broken, which is not the NHS's fault at all, but there are people waiting on very long waiting lists, and it's dangerous. Statistically, it's dangerous because for some people, they can feel empowered and like ADHD is a superpower. But for some of us, I know myself, I got to a point of such extreme burnout. I basically sat on the sofa and didn't get up for 2 years. I was broken and it nearly cost me my life. So if we could wave a magic wand and change the system tomorrow, if you were in charge, what would you do to change the system? Like, obviously, we want the waiting list to be shorter and everything to be quicker, but what would you do if you could?
Just creating an environment where there's more support. I think like the waiting list is just crazy. Like even trying to get on the waiting list and paying privately, which I know I'm in a super privileged position to be able to do, it's a year. It's so long. And, I really worry about people that are, there will be people that have ADHD and that comes with a whole host of other stuff that's going on for them. And that might include OCD or that might involve mental illness. And not to say those two things are together, but like any group of
eating disorders, there's all sorts of horrible comorbidities. Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think is really concerning, because if you've got a diagnosis and it's helpful, then I think it really, I mean, as I say, I think it really stopped me sort of beating myself up when I had a professional that had been working in mental health and working with people with neurodiversities for, more than 30 years going, I can be 99% certain you have this.
Yes.
It was actually like, oh, okay, great. Okay. She was like, and you can go through, she was like, if it's enough for me to tell you with my years of experience, then that's great. And you can go on a waiting list. But it was enough for someone with that much. Because I think there are people that get diagnosis from like an online test and they'll still charge you 350 quid.
Yeah.
So I would say that like, even if you're waiting to get that diagnosis and you might be on a long list, you can still treat yourself with compassion of someone that diagnosis is going to give you. Do you mean if you're waiting for someone to say you have this thing? And I found it very useful when they did. I appreciate that. But if you can already treat yourself with the kindness that you're going to treat yourself with when you've got that piece of paper, then maybe that's not really answering your question about how
I don't care. It's fantastic. I have it because it is. You know you best. If you can identify it in yourself, you don't need somebody to tell you to start treating yourself in the way that you would if it had been identified by somebody else. 100%. Yeah.
And I guess it's just, I mean, there's always problems with waiting list. And like, I adore the NHS, but it's so broken in so many ways. It's all to do with funding and it's all to
100%.
12 years of austerity. And if there was one thing that I could do, taking out of the equation things like world peace, ending all wars and people being able to live in peace, the idea of fixing the broken health service, which I think is such like a jewel in the crown of this country. It's so
100%.
phenomenal. When you talk to someone from outside the UK about the National Health Service, they can't believe it.
Yes.
You talk to an American about it. I mean, I've got friends that are actors that live in the States who are English or Irish that have been out there and like have kids out there and stuff. And like the sheer cost of having a baby.
Yeah.
One of my friends had to have a cesarean, you know, through no choice, really. It just got to a stage they were like, we're going to have to do something here. I was like, you know, 20 grand later. And like, you know, and that's the thing. I mean, but that's just me talking about the health service.
No, but it's true because it is. It's something to be, we are so lucky to have, grateful to have, you know, I didn't even understand. I remember, I think I was like 11 or 12 when I found out how other healthcare systems work. I thought that was a given.
Yeah, right.
And when I heard about it, I was like, oh my gosh, like we are so lucky.
Yeah.
So lucky. It is atrocious what has happened. And we just have to hope that things are going to change.
Yeah, we really do.
Yeah, we really do. Right. Let's dive back in. With ADHD presenting differently in each individual, what would you say your greatest struggle is or struggles are?
So I fluctuate. So I'm writing a book at the minute and I fluctuate between being like totally procrastinating and having laser sharp focus. Like focus that is like 2 hours, nothing will distract me. I can dig into what I'm writing and write thousands of words in one sitting, but the rest of the day.
Fuck all.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck all.
But that hyper focus, can you control it or is it just as it comes?
No, I'm getting better at controlling it.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, I wish I just could do more of that. But I am sort of testing myself to do it. But I don't write without a deadline.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was sort of pitching for a book, I found that very difficult because I was like, here's some writing. Is it? I don't know if it's good. I think it might be. I don't know. And then once it was like, a publisher was like, yeah, we're going to buy this book. Yeah, so let's have this book. And then it was like, it needs to be handed in 12 months. And I was like, great, I'm going to write a chapter a month. And then I became really good at doing it, but without a deadline.
Yes.
I'm fucking useless.
Absolutely.
Same with stand-up. My show, I'll be going back out on tour next year in June. And those dates are being booked now in theatres around the country. And they'll go on sale and I'll be like, fuck, I need to write this show. Like, I've got bits and bobs already, but it's only when people are like messaging me being like, oh my God, I've just bought tickets to your show that I'm like, oh Jesus, this is happening. I wish I could be better at not needing that. But I think that's just me. I think I've just come.
It is what it is. It is what it is. It's a hack. And that's okay. Do you know what I mean? You know yourself. You can identify what it is that can get you going. Brilliant.
Yeah,
Use that. Use that. 100%. So do you have a treatment plan? So you've said you're speaking to a therapist. I'm guessing you're not on medication, but
I'm not. And I've been thinking about it for a while. I've got friends that sort of take it as and when they need it rather than every single day. I think at some point I might, but right now I kind of feel like I'm working it out on my own and I feel okay about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you continue to speak to your therapist. Is that ongoing? That's brilliant. It's whatever works. I guess for me, it's always like curiosity. I would just get the better of me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think like I've got friends that are in the creative industry that will like take them on a Monday and get all their shit done.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the week. I guess I would worry that it would like numb my creativity somehow. I don't know. I feel I don't take anything.
Yes,
So I worry about fucking with that part of my brain that like.
It's a really common concern. It's a really common concern. For me personally, it's been better for my creativity because it blocks all the noise that says that's not good enough. Don't bother. That's not very good. Don't put that out, you know? But everybody's different. And so many people do that. Like, this is the laser focus part of my brain. I'll do the admin, you know? What do you think unidentified ADHD has cost you?
I mean, like that feeling of being like utterly overwhelmed is not a stranger to me. I mean, I've always been really good with work. Like I've never missed a gig. I've occasionally fucked up, but you know, with my diary and stuff, on the whole, I'm pretty on it. It's with my personal life that it suffers more, where I'll like be like, I must see that friend. I'd really like to see that person. I'd really like to hang out with them. I really love them. And then I just fucking never get round to doing it because life gets in the way. And so I guess more than work stuff, it's like my own That was my cat crying, not my child, just in case you're like, God, she's really ignoring her. I am ignoring my cat. She doesn't know what a closed door means. But
Rude.
Yeah, really rude. Has no respect for my creativity. But I think more than anything, it would be that. It would be like the overwhelmedness, the amount of hours that I've ended up feeling burnt out from it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never had it like you know, where you're saying you were on the sofa for 2 years, but like that feeling of like, I'm so overwhelmed, I can't get anything done.
Yeah.
It's like almost like painful in my head. Like, oh God, not that again. But I'm definitely, since learning more about ADHD and being calmer, and as I said to you, you know, in the first instance, like, you know, berating myself less.
Do you feel like in your personal relationships, because obviously I know that one too well, I really should get onto them and and then time flies by and it's like, oh my gosh, I've not spoken to this person for a year or whatever it is. Do you feel that the people in your life have been supportive of this? Totally. And do they get it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think like a lot of my friends are neurodiverse. My wife isn't. She's textbook neurotypical, but she's just like enormously understanding of me.
What a ledge.
What a ledge, yeah. Exhausting for her, I imagine.
I heard something about like a Suzi fuck up fund. Is that a thing?
True. Yeah, that's true. When I fuck things up. Yeah. Someone told me it was called ADHD tax, but it's when I like sort of tell in the wrong area, book the wrong flight.
Yeah.
Leave something somewhere. That's the most common one. The amount of times I have to get Timpsons to get my keys cut. Yeah, we call it the fuck it fund. I go, I've done a thing. Hitting the car, that's a thing. I scratched the car. I popped a tire. I went through a pothole. That's true.
Never a dull moment.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, never a dull moment, but sort of quite a lot of infuriating ones, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. If you could shout a message to the wider world, so if you could bust a misconception, or if there was something that you could have every single person in the world know about ADHD, what would that be?
Oh, that like loads more people have it than you think. People don't need to get up in arms about people finding language or finding a diagnosis that makes them feel better. As we were saying earlier about people that say, oh, you know, everyone's got it now. And you go, but what does that matter to you?
Why do you care?
It's like people have the same thing about, you know, people being, oh God, there's so many more gay people these days. There's so many more gay people. You go, no, I think there's always been quite a lot of gay people. I think gay people led very.
Do you think maybe there might have always been?
Yeah, I think that's the same. Like, you know, anyone that's sort of gender diverse, like, you know, I think that there's always been people that are outside of what people assume they might be. You hear it a lot, and you just go, if using language or if a diagnosis on anything helps that person find peace, I don't know why anyone would have an issue with it. It has fuck all to do with you.
Absolutely. Mic drop. Love it. Thank you, Suzi. A lot of the listeners will be on a waiting list, or some will be newly diagnosed, self-diagnosed, whatever. What would you like to say to them specifically?
I would say just if you're on a waiting list, be as kind to yourself as you'd be when you have the diagnosis. Same if you're new to it. And also, like, I know, and like, you know, it's different from me because I work in a creative industry, and I'm sure there'd be people listening that don't have that sort of luxury that I have, because I get to do this sort of super creative thing. But I think that it's something that's like innate in you. So all you can do is kind of go, oh, well, this is the deal. This is it. It's the same, like, you know, I really struggled for a long time coming out. And then once I was sort of like, oh, this is just who I am. I have to kind of get on board with it, because this is it. This is the lot. This is who I am. And then it was like a journey of, you know, being more accepting of myself and being kinder to myself around my sexuality. Some people might assume that you come out and the next day you're proud. No, for me, it was like 10 years of working out how to be really okay with that. And I think it's the same for anything that makes you feel different to your peers. But I think the acceptance of like, well, this has always been, this is who I am. There's potentially people that, you know, are in my family or in, you know, definitely people within the wider community that it was the same for them too. They just might have not have had the language.
I really hear you there. I think it's so, thank you for sharing that. I think it's like what you're talking about. So this kind of self-acceptance, I think definitely one of the blocks is that the expectations that are put on every person, whether that's in society as a whole, in their place of work, or even in their own families. And that's why so many of us mask who we are. And so often, like unconsciously masking, well, my mum's in the room, so I better sit up straight. And my boss is here, so I better pretend I've done this thing already that I haven't done, and all of that stuff. And actually, it's another way of looking at who you actually are, facing that, and however long it takes, trying to just accept that, because then you can be who you are. That acceptance will bring that self-compassion, and life will just be better, you know?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. So people with ADHD may have lower levels of dopamine, the chemical that plays an important role in reward and motivation. So increasing dopamine levels may help some of our symptoms. What increases your dopamine levels? What do you do for fun?
I obviously like hanging out with friends and stuff. I like to exercise.
What do you do? What's your exercise?
At the moment, it's reformer Pilates because I've had a bad back. So that's meant to be something that's really good. I like going for a walk. I don't love being with loads and loads and loads of people that I don't know, but I love being with lots of people that I know. And like gigging gives me a real high, doing stand-up, which might not work for everyone, I appreciate. But that is sort of where I get a real boost. It's weird because the longer you've been, like, I remember when I was new at stand-up, if you smashed a gig, I'd feel high for about 4 days. I'd be like, oh my God, I'd keep coming back to it in my head being like, I was so good at that gig the other night. But now if I smash a gig, it lasts about 5 minutes. And then I'm like, that, because you just get used to it.
Novelty. That's part of our ADHD as well, that novelty. A lot of people that I speak to in the community, when they do something really, really fun, sometimes it's the coming out of it is quite hard, and they get kind of quite low, like, oh, I wish I was still doing that thing and it's over now. And what now? Coming back to reality. Do you feel that after you've done a gig?
Sometimes I might feel that after a tour, but I think then I'm sort of probably quite ready to do something else. I'm quite good at always having like another thing. I have to have a thing. Like I'll say to my agent, I'll be coming towards the end of a tour, maybe I've only got a couple of months left, and I'll be like, what should I do? What should we do?
What's next?
What's next? And so I think I've always got something in my sights.
I think that's the ultimate hack. I really do.
Yeah.
Is just keep, like, obviously the difficulty is finding the balance between being busy because that's what works for you and having something to look forward to and not burning out. But actually to always have something on the horizon, I think that's a really good hack.
Yeah, I think so. I think that that's what works for me.
Yeah, definitely. I personally have been trying to track my glimmers to cultivate more dopamine. So like micro joys. So do you have a micro joy for today, or perhaps even something you do every day? Like my micro joy of the day is having a coffee and looking at birds, or whatever it might be.
I really like bumbling around the house listening to a podcast.
What's your fave?
It's like always changing.
Apart from ADHD AF, obviously.
Apart from this, I really like Elizabeth Day. How to Feel.
Oh, she's amazing.
Amazing. I really like Annie Mac's Changes. That's really good. And then I listen to like the news agents because I feel like I ought to be across what's happening in the world.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's probably the main ones. Or like a documentary series that I'm listening to.
Are you a true crime person?
Don't mind it. I don't love it in that way that I know is very popular at the moment. No, I find it all a bit gruesome.
Yeah. What would be your documentary series of choice?
Like maybe something about sport, even though I'm not that sporty. But like I'm sort of fascinated by people that like dedicate their life to a thing.
Oh, 100%.
Really fascinating.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Like, yeah, there's some sports ones. There's a golf one on Netflix and a tennis one. And then there's one about Tom Brady on Apple TV that's really interesting, even though I don't really understand the rules of American football. I still found it like
tell details.
Yeah, fascinating to how someone spends their life becoming
dedicated to yeah, absolutely. Okay. What song best describes your ADHD?
Oh man.
For example, mine at the moment anyway is Satisfaction by the Stones.
Okay.
Other people have said that My Head is a Jungle. That one came up.
What about I Can't Get No Sleep by Faithless?
Boom. Perfect. Do you struggle with insomnia?
No, I don't struggle with insomnia. I just wake up really early most days. I wake up about 5:30 most days.
Same, yeah.
Bang, let's go. And then I can't lay about. I'm like, I've got to get out of bed within like 10 minutes. I'm like, let's go. Bang, 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 bang.
How many hours do you think you get a night?
Pretty good, because if I'm not gigging, I will go to bed at like 9:30 with my book.
Really?
Yeah.
I never get more than 5.
Do you not? No, I
No.
have to. Otherwise, I complain about being tired too much and everyone. I'm an absolute mood hoover. Yeah, it's the wake up.
Yeah, off we go. And we're off. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, let's go, let's go. Come on.
I love it. That's such a good one. What is the most ADHD thing you've done this week or ever?
I mean, I booked the Belfast Hilton Hotel and it was not in Belfast. It was in Boston, America, but they've got one called the Belfast. And so I booked that for me and my mum to Mum comes with me on tour sometimes when I go. I went to Ireland, she came with me.
At what point did you figure out you'd done that though?
Oh, like the day. It was fine in the end.
That's where the fuck it funds comes in, right?
Yeah, I mean, they were actually very understanding and it was all fine. But that's like a classic thing of me not like reading properly.
Yeah.
Like I don't read anything.
I'll tell you mine. This is ridiculous. I picked up a letter. I don't get much post. Picked up a letter. And I didn't see my husband's name there as well. I just saw my name. I don't get post. I was like, fuck. Oh, God, what is it? Open the letter. I'm so worried about what it could be. All I see is like, you owe $2,500 or something. And I was like, oh my God, what have I done? Stressing out. Sorry, my husband's nickname is Big. He went, have you actually read this, Laura? It's like, no. He's like, it's the council tax bill. It's just the council tax, obviously, for like the year that you pay full installments. You don't owe anybody anything. It's absolutely fine. But I don't read things.
Yeah, I'm really bad at that.
Open it, boom.
Yeah, that's me.
Thank you so much for your time today. Is there anything we haven't covered, anything you would like to say or promote or anything?
I think we've covered everything.
Wonderful.
If you like the sound of me, I'm a comedian and I'm around the place. Have a look. And if you don't, no worries. You can't be liked by everyone.
That is brilliant. That is quite the thing. If Suzi happens to be coming to a city near you, you have to go because that show is incredible. So thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you. 10 to the cat, 10 to the child. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. So it's back to me in the Tweety bird sounds here in France. I have to say, I'm finding it so difficult to not say France the way that Miss Universe does from that viral video. Go and Google it and see if you can say France normally. From then on in, it's really quite amusing. But I will refrain. I'm so grateful to Suzi Ruffell for giving me her time and her pearls of wisdom and for just being absolutely hilarious and wonderful. What an absolute ledge. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. We had a few sound issues on this Zoom recording, so thank goodness for the wonderful skills of Pat, Sessions Services, who has cleaned it up, worked his technical wizardry and repaired the sound so that we can all enjoy it. So thank you very much to Pat. Do check out his services. I will put a link in the blurb of this episode. I'm going to take you now back to Auditory Processing Corner, which is my new segment that I'm adding to this next evolution of ADHD AF. So for anybody who doesn't know, auditory processing disorder is also known as central auditory processing disorder, and it's where we can't understand what we hear in the same way that others do because our ears and brains don't fully coordinate. Here's a little example which comes from WebMD. People with auditory processing disorder, APD, have a hard time hearing small sound differences in words. Someone says, please raise your hand, and you may hear something like, please haze your plan. You tell your child, look at the cows over there, and they may hear, look at the clown on the chair. So this week in auditory processing disorder, I got a corker from the tour. We were leaving Bristol after the Bristol show. We just shoved all the stuff in the back of the van after the show, literally had the clothes on our back, and ran into the hotel to get some shut-eye ahead of heading to London. And Nicole actually had brought some stuff with her, and it was a really warm morning, so Ali changed into some of Nicole's clothes and said, which was what I heard, was, now I feel like I'm a taxi driver, Nicole. And actually what she said was, now I feel like I'm in fancy dress as Nicole. And it was very amusing as I just stood there looking at her like, I'm not really sure why a pink and turquoise leopard print top makes you look like a taxi driver, but here we are. Didn't really question it, to be honest. Which also brings me to the most ADHD thing, not just I, but we as a travelling trio have done this week. So this is absolutely the most ridiculous thing that's ever happened. I don't think I'll do the story justice in the time that I have. But what happened was, for each Alien Nation show, Ali Mack made a program. So the program sits online with a QR code at each show for people to find out information about the people that they've listened to and the people that have shared their pearls and stories in other shows, because we get local legends in at each show. And Ali said to Nicole, can you test this out for me, please? Like, get you be the first one up. I was busy. Just send me picture and blurb of what you want people to know about you. Now, obviously, Nicole is doing her new Edinburgh Fringe show, Why Am I Still Like This? A sequel to last year's critically acclaimed Why Am I Like This? One woman Edinburgh Fringe show raising ADHD awareness. So obviously she is now performing a preview of the sequel, Why Am I Still Like This? At all of the Alien Nation shows. So Nicole can take things very literally, as some of us can. And she thought that Ali meant, please will you test this link? So Nicole sent Ali literally a sentence that said, Laura kidnapped Nicole in 2023 at the Too Much tour, and she's been at every show ever since, or words to that effect. Did not mention her Edinburgh Fringe show, did not give a link to tickets or to buy the pre-recorded version of the other one. Nothing of any use whatsoever. She also added the worst picture of herself, because it was of her at Christmas time where she accidentally looked like a pimp in a leopard print hat and fur coat, looking like she's in the middle of some kind of sit-down gangster situation that is a picture that will never stop being funny. Uploaded those two. As the weeks rolled by, I did a me, doing too many things at once, and just skimmed through everything and didn't read anything properly. Yep, picture there, blurb there. Yeah, nice, move on. And it wasn't until after the Norwich show that we were all sat down. Ali had on a full-length leopard print coat of mine, and Nicole said to Ali, Ali, you look like a pimp in that coat. And Ali replied, what, you mean like you do in the show programme? And Nicole's face dropped. What show programme? What do you mean? And Ali showed us the link, and sure enough, that is what has been in the programme for the entirety of the tour. We only have 2 shows left. So at every single show, anybody who has gone on to search Nicole has only seen a picture of her dressed as a pimp with no information whatsoever about what she's actually doing there, who she is, how they can follow her or go and watch her shows or be at any of the Edinburgh Fringe performances. And honest to God, I've never laughed so much in my life. But between the 3 of us, it was just like, I hadn't paid enough attention. Boom, boom. Nicole had misread what Ali was asking her to do and taken the instructions very literally. And Ali had just thought, oh, well, if that's what she wants up, that's what she wants up. And between the 3 of us, we just hadn't got there to realise that it had all gone tits up and that was not what we were meant to be doing. So it's the most ADHD thing that all 3 of us have done this week. Well, this tour. So yeah, I mean, I'm undecided whether Nicole should actually change it for the final 2, which, if you would like to join us at, they are in Margate at the one and only Margate Arts Club, in Brighton at Comedia Brighton, ahead of going to Flackstock. I don't have the dates off the top of my head, but it's at the end of July, and the information and way to get tickets will be in the link in the blurb of this episode. I hope to see you there. The feedback for the tours has been absolutely amazing, but I have to share with you the most ADHD thing that somebody shared with me in Bristol. This person actually had 2, but I'm going to just share one for now because the other one is an absolute corker. I'm going to save it for another day. But this wonderful man who I met in Bristol, who I obviously can't remember what his name is because I left his card in my RSD2 bum bag, which is somewhere in Scotland right now as I'm here in France. But I will credit him the next time. So at each show, just like every week, I ask what the most ADHD thing people have done is. I ask it at the shows and the winner wins a prize. His said, I am that much of a people pleaser that I was on an important work call when something on the stove caught alight. Rather than finishing the call immediately to put out the fire in my kitchen, I continued the conversation to its completion, politely and calmly said goodbye as my entire kitchen filled up with smoke and flames. Luckily, he was able to put the fire out when he got off the phone. But honestly, that is next level people pleasing. Very, very funny. I love that one. So there will be a Most ADHD Things of May episode coming out very soon with my glamorous assistant, my lovely husband, Big. Will be out very, very soon alongside more interviews of Not Season 3. Thank you so much for all of your support with this. I know it's ridiculous, but whatever works, hey? It's all about looking at the very unique ways that ADHD presents in each of us individually and trips us up. I identified the self-sabotage thanks to Megan Burke's coaching and Kim Pierpoint, midlife empowerment coach. And I realised that I just needed to take the block out of the way. The rules and parameters stunted me and were holding me back from getting season 3 out. So again, I hope you enjoyed this wonderful interview with Suzi Ruffell of Not Season 3. Thank you to Suzi. Thank you to you all. And I hope to see you at one of the July events. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please do hit those stars, write a review, please share it. It's tough out here. I'm up against it, and I would love to still be able to continue getting these crucial conversations out. And if you'd like to connect with the community online, join us on Planet ADHD AF. Bye!